The Australian Cricket Board have decided, Caroline, that for the second time in 31 years, Cricket Australia will not play a game of cricket on Australia Day. Now, Australia Day happens to be a Monday next year. They're going to play, I think, on the Sunday, and it's Big Bash cricket. It's not a test match or a one-day international. They had the excuse last year that it clashed with the men's tennis finals. This year, that is not the case. Caroline, I mean, what is it? We are only just 2 days into July and we're already having this divisive debate again about Australia Day, for God's sake.
I mean, you can set your clock to it, can't you? Usually as we're approaching the summer months, we expect as people who are in this news business to be talking about this issue. But hey, it's July. It's just turned July and we're talking about it already. I mean, last year, Cricket Australia could argue, and it probably was just a pragmatic decision. They didn't want it to clash with the tennis, fine. But this year is clearly just a virtue signalling move that they have been working up to for the past 4 years, because for the past 4 years, they've cut out the words Australia Day out of all their marketing, and they've been moving towards this point for quite some time. Now, I'm not a big cricket fan, I'm sorry to say, Pricey, but it does make me wonder how a bunch of blokes and women as well hitting a ball with a bat on one day of a year, or not hitting a ball with a bat on one day of a year, is going to do anything to help the number of Indigenous women who are being abused in domestic relationships. We know they're 8 times more likely to be a victim of homicide than their non-Indigenous peers, how it's going to help a single Indigenous child who is suffering from sexual abuse and not going to school. It's not going to close the gap. It's not going to improve the lives of Indigenous people. It is just pure virtue signalling, and Australians are sick of it.
Yeah, well said. James, in 2 days' time, it's the 4th of July in your country of birth. Can you imagine America saying, well, we're not going to play baseball on the 4th of July because the day is somehow illegitimate?
We're not going to say the 4th of July because July might be offensive to people named June. I mean, where do you even start with this sort of thing? It is just really shocking to me. I mean, yeah, Carolyn makes all the great points about, you know, none of this helps in a practical sort of sense, and I get that. Australians are practical people. We like to have practical help and see practical assistance and things. But there's a higher sort of level that we also need to talk about this on here, which is that has the idea of modern Australia, which, you know, has for much of the last century, and certainly when I got here almost 25 years ago, was held up as this great beacon of this prosperous democratic experiment on the other side of the world that's worked out pretty well, all things considered, the envy of many, many nations around the world, you know, successfully integrating people from around the globe. And now the name Australia, the very word Australia, and the very idea of celebrating that, you've got people out there who think it's such a shameful thing that they think we shouldn't even say the word. You know, it's like if we utter the word, oh no, something's going to happen, people are going to be offended. And then what about the people, Pricey, at Cricket Australia? You know, what about like Mike Baird and all of these people who run the joint, who go out and, you know, kowtow to this sort of idiocy because they come from this sort of corporate, urban, human resources driven, you know, even if they're on the right, they're on the left kind of area of thinking, I guess you could call it, you know, elitism, for lack of a better term, although I don't think there's anything particularly elite about any of these guys, that says, oh, no, we have to do everything we can to avoid offending anybody, rather than saying we're a great nation, we have something to be proud of, you know, and let's just have the day.
Well, Caroline, you can almost go back to where we started here with, you know, the no vote getting up at the Voice referendum. These people who run these organisations just ignore the will of the Australian people. I mean, every time we run a poll on Australia Day or whether we want to keep the flag, overwhelmingly people say, yes, I want Australia Day to be on the 26th of January and I want to keep the flag. And then all these people go, well, we don't care what you think.
I know it is a big slap in the face to Australians, and we've seen other companies like Woolworths, when they stopped stocking Australia Day merchandise, what a huge backlash that produced, and then the company had to sort of backtrack on that. So I have no doubt it will be a similar situation for Cricket Australia. I mean, the Telegraph poll, it's not a referendum, but 97% of people, 98% of people, when I last checked it, had voted that they wanted cricket to be played on Australia Day. I think that's pretty telling where mainstream Australia is on this issue, and it is certainly not with the corporate hotshots who are on huge salaries who think they can fix, Indigenous grievance in this country by not playing sport on a certain day.
James, just quickly, it's the gift that keeps on giving for you. President Trump now says he might deport Elon Musk, and this is when he's down visiting the alligator Alcatraz. I mean, you could not make this stuff up. If you tried to write a movie about it, people would say you're insane.
Well, it makes a lot of great headlines, a lot of fun to talk about it. But there's some serious stuff going on here behind the scenes. Elon Musk here has decided to play politics in a funny way because he's a business guy, not a politician. Trump made the leap. I think Musk hasn't, and that's where he's kind of fallen over here. Trump has a great sense of humor. Musk really doesn't, and that's where he's fallen over in all of this. Musk is now threatening to start his own political party because he doesn't like the big spending bill that just got passed. And granted, there's a lot not to like in it. So now, of course, Trump in his inimitable way says, well, we might look at Elon Musk. Should he be here legally? Maybe we'll send him back to South Africa. Maybe on one of his rockets, a big, beautiful rocket. Who knows, Stevie? But that's the greatest show on earth. But we've also got, let's remember here, we've got a president who is pressing every button and pulling every lever. And even if people don't like it, he is running this office. And it's great to see a president, unlike who we had Joe Biden in the chair, and we don't know who was running the show.
Yeah, he's actually running the world. James, Caroline, always a pleasure to catch up with you two geniuses. Thank you very much.